Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
It is kind of a allegory or a perhaps a barometer for how things are going in the United States right now. As you guys may or may not know, the Supreme Court just upheld birthright citizenship in the United States, making us, if I'm not incorrect, the only country in the world, literally the only country in the world that has that type of policy. It is a self-destructive, suicidal problem. Like, okay, so if we didn't have any kind of social safety nets and networks and, like social programs to help people out who were having a tough time, you could make the argument perhaps that it wouldn't be as big of a deal, because people who were coming into this country under the birthright citizenship thing wouldn't be getting any kind of benefits, right? Because there would be no benefits for anybody. So we'd all be paying into the system, and if you don't work, you don't eat, right? However, the way it works is if you're a taxpayer and you pay into the system, you're paying for these people, because many of them are sucking off the teat of the United States government, of their local governments, of their local principalities, or whatever the case may be, to pay for their bills and their food and their children and their medical expenses and everything else that they have to do. So it is suicidal empathy, therefore, for the United States to continue a policy of birthright citizenship, of which, when that bill was written, it was never intended for that at all. There are specific, grounding, guiding principles in the documents around the bill of the people who wrote it at the time, and why they used the language that they did, and what it was specifically meant to do was to take Native Americans and ex-slaves who were not citizens at the time and grant them citizenship into the country, right? So we would include those people in censuses, so we would include those people in votes, so we would include those people in civil rights, so that we would include those people in social safety nets. It was never intended for wherever you're from to make it across the border at 8.5 months pregnant, stay here for 2 weeks, have a baby, and now your baby's a citizen and you can apply for citizenship too because your baby's a citizen. Or like what China's doing with the birthright citizenship tourism, right? So we're granting citizenship to, if I understand correctly, millions and millions and millions of Chinese people who pay for basically the service to come over to the United States when they're 8.5 months pregnant. But those people go back, I think, for the most part. It's just that kid now has citizenship, so he can move to the United States if he ever wants to and have all of the rights and all of the privileges that go with being a citizen. So suicidal empathy is a thing. And man, Congress needs to do something because the Supreme Court won't. Obviously, the Supreme Court is biased in this particular case. I think that there were some dissenting judges who spoke out, but not enough of them. And yeah, man, things are pretty fucking crazy with that. But all that being said, how are you guys doing tonight? This is E Honda coming at you. We got Ohio Patriot. How you doing, man?
Oh, I've been a lot better, especially after the SCOTUS ruling. It's complete psychotic behavior, and I swear to God, they're trying to lead us to a second American Revolution at this point. And it's just acceleration towards that at this point, I believe, honestly, because why anyone would vote and betray this country, you might as well call this high treason, because that's pretty much what it is. They have betrayed this country, they betrayed the sovereignty of this country with this ruling, and it's absolutely fucking ridiculous that you allow anchor babies, you allow foreign nationals, etc., to come to our country and have a bunch of kids here and grant these kids citizenship. And the thing is with the Chinese birth tourism is it gets worse than what you mentioned, because you add on top of that the fact they're going to be voting blocks already at this point, because this shit was happening under Bush Jr. back in the 2000s, and that's when they stopped it for the first time. But there's kids that are on our country soil right now that have the right to vote in this country in coming elections. and are doing so. And that's why you're having all these Democrats, socialists, and all these communists, etc., win these races and primaries and stuff like that now in the past 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, so here's a list of countries that have birthright citizenship. I didn't know it was more than us. Canada and Mexico, United States. Those are the 3. Ironically, all over here, Canada, Mexico, United States, all have birthright citizenship. Argentina, Barbados, Belize, Costa Rica, Cuba, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Grenada, Guatemala, Honduras, Jamaica, Nicaragua, Panama, St. Kitts. I don't even know what the fuck that is. St. Luca,
One of the islands.
St. Vincent. Maybe we should just go have kids on fucking an island and be like, oh, look how many, you have millions of citizens now, St. Luca. And Trinidad. So, yeah. I mean, there's, 2 countries in Africa, 3 countries in Asia, a whole bunch in South America, and all the rest are Central and North America. Why is that? Why is that the only place in the world besides 2 countries in Africa and 3 countries in fucking Asia have birthright citizenship? Like, why is it all over here? That's weird. Not really
it's probably due to all the liberal women, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it would be interesting to note like exactly when these countries were put those things into effect is what it is. I know us with the 14th Amendment was like Civil War time period or whatever. But I know after that it was everybody else is what it is. So.
United States Marine Corps agreement. Now I know that we grant citizenship to foreign nationals who join our military. So if you're from like Guatemala or something and you want to become a citizen, there's a way for you to come here and then like join the Marines or something.
There's also a reverse version of that too, because it's if you're a military person and have a child overseas, that kid is granted citizenship as well.
Well, that's because
they're already an American, yeah.
Right. I mean, and if both of your parents are an American citizen and you're born in Mexico because you're on a vacation in Mexico or whatever, it makes no sense to me that your citizenship would be Mexican and not American, right? Just because your parents are both from America, and just because you are in Mexico doesn't mean that you are now a Mexican. That's not how it's not how it should work. And I don't know, man. Like I don't think that particularly like Canada. Yeah, there's a bunch of people probably trying to get into Canada, just like they are the United States for the same birthright citizenship clauses or whatever.
They are. There's a lot of Islam. There's a lot of Indians from India.
But, like Mexico and Guatemala and all these, like who wants to fucking go there? Nobody. Like no one's going there. They're all coming here. So it doesn't really matter for them to have the birthright citizenship because they don't really have the national safety net and, you know, all of these like social programs to help. Like they do to some extent, but not like we do, and not the amount of money that we spend on it. You know, it's like the number one thing that the United States federal government spends money on is social programs. You know, and it's like, besides going to public school, I have never had access to any of them. You know, as a citizen, as someone who doesn't even make that much money, you know, like I'm not like well-to-do here. I'm getting by, but I'm not like fucking balling, you know. And for people like me who are kind of on, I wouldn't say the bottom rung, but we're near the bottom of the ladder. The thought is that there would be these social programs to help people like me go to school or help people like me with their kids' bills and feeding them and stuff like that. But it's given to these other people who come in because, you know, they don't even speak English and they can't get a job because they just don't know. They don't know how things work here. Right. So they get on the government teat, they start suckling, and they never get off. And it's like feeding the deer, right? You feed the deer have lots of babies. Now you've got thousands of deer. And if you ever stop feeding the deer, they're all going to starve to death. And then you'll be responsible for killing thousands of deer. I can't have that. We got to keep feeding them. Well, now you got millions of deer. So what's your beef, homie? Did you watch my, I just posted some shorts right before the fucking chat started. Did you watch them?
I didn't get a chance yet now.
Oh, well, that guy did.
But the thing is, like, when you look back at how SCOTUS ruled with the Haitians and everything like that, kicking them out, the ones that came here to Ohio, they were doing way worse with the social stuff because not only were they taking resources from Ohioans that needed them, they were taking houses, they were taking jobs, they were taking all kinds of welfare benefits and stuff like that. They were getting free health care. Hell, we gave DeWine, our current governor, gave them 2 or 3 years to learn English. None of them would. They even said straight up in their Haitian languages that they're like, yeah, we're not going to learn English because we're here to invade. Like, that's literally what they said, and they weren't booted out immediately on that one. But yeah, it's because of that shit that you had all kinds of other stuff happening, and then of course you had these liberals that were literally feeding them answers to driver's license testing and giving them driver's licenses when they knew they could not pass in English because they couldn't even read our road signs or anything like that. And that's why they were causing so many car crashes, both in Springfield and the surrounding areas. There is what it is. And I guess apparently there was a thing that came out about a year ago where it was Tremont, which is not far from Springfield. The police chief there was talking about how the Springfield cops were starting to turn off their radios to various Haitian violence going on there is what it was.
Well, I was looking at one of the things that concerns me is motorcycle deaths, and in the last year, it has been the highest recorded number of motorcycle deaths in the United States history. Part of that, honestly, has to do with the number of people who are driving on the roads who shouldn't be. How many of those people are from different countries who don't understand how fucking traffic lights work or what signs mean or speed limits or like the rules of the road or, any of the things that cause these type of accidents. There's another part of it too, which is just, people riding more motorcycles. And I'm sure that has something to do with it. But the sheer increase, like it's specifically in Colorado, and Colorado is one of the states where if you move here and you're not a citizen, specifically, you're not even close to being a citizen, you're not even applying for it, you can go to the DMV and you can still get a license. You can still get a license to drive. You get a license so that you can get a job. Like, they don't ask any questions. They just fucking give it to you. And it's insane. And then another part is with, like, I had a buddy that this happened to who got in an accident with a illegal immigrant. It was their fault. They were at fault. They did not have insurance. And the police let them go because they're like, what are we supposed to do? I don't know. Maybe enforce the law and fucking arrest these people for what they're doing wrong. Right. Now, it's like one thing to like not have a license. It's another thing to not have insurance. That's the thing. Like, man, like if you hurt someone on the road and you don't have the ability to personally cover their bill, that's what insurance is for. It's to protect people. And if you're riding around without insurance on your vehicle, that is a danger to society at large. Like, your children, your wife, your family are all in danger because of that. And moreover, now you're financially liable for it. So yeah, it's fucking crazy. Crazy. I saw this is funny. That Somali just stole my bike. That's an American that just stole your bike.
This is what bothers me a lot with Ketanji Brown Jackson in general, even being on the Supreme Court at this point, because we know for a fact that Biden stole the election in 2020. That alone makes her appointment to SCOTUS completely null and fucking void. The fact that there's not been a Marbury versus Madison ruling to say that about her and kick her fucking ass off of the Supreme Court at this point is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, I mean, there's so many problems going on in the country right now. I don't even know. Like, Trump is doing what he can, but there's so many things that are working against him, and including himself in some instances. Like his priorities are maybe not correct about some things, and man, like the economy right now and certain things going on in the country that need to be addressed that aren't, because we're too focused on Iran and fucking Ukraine and all these international things going on. Like,
a bunch of dumb shit that we don't need to be involved in.
Like, honestly, dude, like that was a major reason why I voted for Trump, was not only like how much better he would have been than Kamala Harris, but also because of the domestic policies and economic benefits that came along with Trump the first time that seems haven't manifested yet. And I'm still being patient with it, to be honest, because the whole tariff thing and a lot of the things that the deals that he made with other countries to bring in investments to the United States, that's kind of things that are going to take a little while to come to fruition. So I'm kind of like holding my breath on the whole situation, but the longer this goes on, the more difficult it's getting for people, and the worse thing, the harder the recovery is going to be, basically.
Well, especially when you hear shit, because I heard one earlier today, it was about Trump, and it was saying how in the last year, because of crypto ventures he's done, he's made over $1 billion on that shit. I'm just like, yet Americans are not making a fucking dime.
Yeah, I mean, what he does in the free market, outside of like okay, so the problem that I have when politicians make money is when they use like insider trading and inside information to gain an advantage. Trump does it by branding, right? And Trump's brand is worth money, and he's made money because of that. And he actually lost money during his first term, if I'm not incorrect. So
He did.
It doesn't bother me so much that he made some money off some crypto. Like, honestly, it doesn't, because it doesn't really like what's the downside for everyone else if he made some money? You know, like, who lost money? It's not a zero sum game. You know what I mean? That being said, the dude needs to fucking, there's a bunch of moves that need to be made, and I don't see them making the moves fast enough right now.
My thing with it is, I'd have no problem with him getting that money if at the same time he was actually boosting the American economy and boosting Americans' paychecks. And I think that's what so many people have a gripe with right now, is what it is, because you have a dude who, for, what was it, 40, 50 years of his life or more, was a Democrat politician. You could say right now, honestly, that we're basically ruled over by Democrats of all parties, because you got Trump, who is an ex-Democrat, that's now Republican, and you got all these Democrats now in 2026 that are just fighting non-these Democrats like Trump and Vance, et cetera, there.
Well, the thing
and
is,
this is my biggest problem when we have that uniparty. So
the thing about the 90s Democrats is I would have considered myself one too. Like, a lot of the policies that the 90s Democrats were in favor of are things that I'm still in favor of, right? The things that the 90s Republicans were in favor of, I was pretty much against and still am. So I don't know if that's the parties flipping, or if things just moved so far to the left that the left became the right and then there's a new left going on now. I'm not sure, but should be crazy.
I think it is the goalpost being shifted so much to the left that you have gotten like the more socialist communists. People are just outright saying they're fucking communists at this point and pushing communism in the Democrat Party. And the establishment Democrats that have been there for, 40, 50 years in some cases aren't doing a damn thing to push back against it. They're just like, okay, it's your party now, people. And just walking away.
So two things real quick. Number one, I got kind of a migraine going on right now. I stopped smoking weed. It's been 4 days now. I am trying to get a job that requires a clean test. So that's going on, and it caused a migraine. So I've got a migraine going on right now because I stopped smoking weed, and I've been looking at screens and stuff, and it's just like my vision's kind of funky and my fucking head hurts real bad. So I don't know how long we're going to be going tonight, if it's going to be a full hour and a half or not. We'll see. But the other thing was, I went on Yankees chat last night, not like as in person. I just like went into the chat like a normal viewer. And I started commenting, and Yankee was like, "Oh, I don't like impersonators," because he thought I was an impersonator. So he blocked my channel, right? And I've got technically 3 channels, even though I don't really use 2 of them. I've got Honda Unchained, which was just like an experiment that I haven't really done much with. And then I've got another channel that I made is just like a troll channel, but it's got Honda in the name. And so I switched to one of the other channels, and I'm like, "Hey, no. That's the real Honda that you just blocked." And he's like, "Oh, look, there's another impersonator." And he blocked that one too. And then I switched to my third account. I'm like, no. Not impersonators, real Honda. He's like, "Oh, we got all kinds of Honda impersonators tonight." And then, yeah, all 3 of my channels are now blocked on Yankees fucking show. And I didn't even say anything like risky. I was just like, "Hey, what's up?" So that happened. So if anyone watches Yankee, maybe you should tell him that he's a piece of shit and that he's a fucking retard and that he needs to unban all 3 of the Honda channels that he banned last night. Anyway.
You just send him the good Scooby-Doo meme.
Well, and I even sent him an email. I'm like, "Hey, dude, this is the real Honda. Here is a link to my channel that proves," because like I changed my name from Honda 420 to Honda 42,000. And I think that's what threw him off, right? So I'm like, "Hey, dude, this is Honda. Here's a link to my channel that shows who I am. I know he saw it because I kept watching his show after I got banned, and he was like, "Oh, let's pull up the emails and see if anyone's got any pictures they want to share." And he pulled up an email and he said something about it that made me, I forget what he said exactly, but it was like, "Oh, you did see my email. Okay." And he just fucking skipped it and doesn't care. So fuck that guy, dude. Fuck Yankee, actually. Honestly, fuck Yankee. He's a piece of shit. He's got Trump derangement syndrome. All he does is focus on all of the things that Trump does that he finds to be wrong, right? And I was actually reading the study earlier today about, it was from Scott Adams, actually. It wasn't even anything that I read. It was a video that he posted from before he died about how people make decisions. And basically, you make the decision and you rationalize it afterwards. So what happens is, you see that your side is for a thing, and so then you're like, okay, that's my side that's for a thing, so I'm going to decide to like that thing. And this happens like 75% of the time. And then you justify liking that thing by whatever means, like really irrational sometimes means. And if the exact same policy, right, like that same policy that you just rationalized that you're behind comes from the other team, you will choose to not support it, and you will rationalize not supporting it. So the decision comes before thinking about it for most people in most situations. You make the decision and then you think about it later and justify it. So there's a lot of that going on. I try not to do that myself. I know I'm probably guilty of it in some instances. And like certainly, in the current situation. And here's another aspect to that too. It's like, take the war in Iran, for instance, right? I generally am not for starting wars. However, in this particular instance, because it's Trump and the Republicans and Marco Rubio and like all the people involved with it that are in charge of the Iran war, I am actually for it and I see the benefits of it. And if it was Kamala Harris or the other side, I would be against it. Why? Well, it's a matter of leadership. It's a matter of who do I trust to get things done? Who do I trust to have the correct agenda? Who do I trust to have the American people's best interest at heart? And when it comes to the Iran thing, certainly I would trust Trump running the war over Kamala Harris or some Democrat. So old Corey loves Yankee. He's donated over $2,000 to him so far this year. Holy shit, Corey. Bro, we're I'm not even going to say that. Never mind. He can have his finger on the mute button. Yeah, that's it. I won't go on his show to fucking debate him because he'll just fucking be like, I'm the Yankee Marshal and I'm going to say the thing that I want to say and I'm going to mute you when it's your turn to talk. So I'm not going to debate someone who's disingenuous. I'm not going to fucking debate someone who uses tactics rather than reason and evidence and I don't know. Like when I'm having a debate with someone, my entire point is not to win the debate as in like, oh, look at all these points that I scored against you. It's to win the debate as in who's listening to it and who did I convince, right? And you don't convince anybody by interrupting. You don't convince anybody by muting someone and by making fun of them. You're just going to like basically make it so that the people who already agree with you are going to continue to agree with you and the people who disagree with you are going to continue to disagree with you. And you didn't actually change the goalposts on anyone on any level ever anywhere. So it's really pointless to do that type of debate. It's absolutely pointless to do that type of debate because you're not changing anyone's mind. And that's, in my opinion, the point of a debate is to change people's minds so that you can hear both sides steel man argument against each other, weigh it for yourself as to who has the better argument, and then make up your own mind, right? But when you do a debate like Yankee does the debates, I can't even finish my point. No one even knows what I'm trying to say. No one even knows what the argument is at the end of the debate because every time you open your mouth, he interrupts you and he does some bullshit, and then you can't fucking even finish your point. So it's really, really frustrating, and I won't do it again. I just won't. There's no point. Like what I might do in the future, and tell me if you guys want to see this, where I will take his Yankee videos that he posts and then watch them in like a live stream format or on a like in a video, edited video, and react and respond with the benefit of being able to articulate my entire point without being interrupted, so that I can steelman my side while we listen to him steelman his side. It would basically be the same effect as having the debate, but I would be able to control, my ability to finish a sentence, basically. It's really hard to do. Like, when you're thinking on your feet and you're having these conversations and someone just keeps poking you and prodding you and interrupting you and making it harder for you to finish a sentence, man, it really makes it hard to fucking get through it. And I'm not good at that. I'm not good at fucking you coming in and just like wrecking my whole fucking train of thought in the middle of my train of thought and then putting me on some sidetrack. And now I got to like, discard all of that and put everyone back on the right track. Like, no, dude, I can't do that. Like, that's not how I work. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it.
It's very hard for a lot of people to do that. And it's because it's a tactic. It's basically rules for radicals tactics is what it is.
Right. And that's again, what is my problem with a lot of leftists when it comes to these arguments and debates that they have in person? It's not that they don't have good arguments, right? They don't have the steelman argument that can convince people. So instead of using the steelman argument that's going to convince people, because if they rely on that, they're going to lose, they rely on tactics. It's all about tactics. Like, you ever watch Ben Shapiro? You know who that is?
Yeah.
He's like that little fucking redheaded, bald leprechaun looking fucking faggot motherfucker who likes to fucking yell and get all angry, and everything, literally every point that anyone makes in a debate ever, he somehow brings it back to Trump and then is like, I don't even know what he does. Dude, it's annoying, but it's a tactic. It's all tactics. They don't have fucking substance. Anyway.
Yeah, that's why him and his people are losing a bunch of money at Daily Wire now, too. Because everybody's just sick of his shit.
Oh, look. Petrol bombs were thrown at a mosque. No other mosques in Ireland have received evacuation orders as the incident is being investigated as a terrorist threat. They're literally burning down mosques in Ireland.
I saw something recently where they were talking about the real IRA making a comeback there.
I'm giving them the fucking slow clap, dude.
I'll believe if the IRA makes a comeback, we start seeing Irish car bombs become a thing again.
I mean, they still got some fight in them, I think. Okay, so we went through the list of countries that have birthright citizenship. How about a list of countries that don't have birthright citizenship? And I won't even read all these because we'll be here for a while, but like, look at all these.
Yeah, like thousands probably.
Including the United Kingdom. UK doesn't even have it. Wow, look at that. Dude, the other one said Mexico had it, and this one says Mexico doesn't. I wonder which one's correct. That's weird. Whatever. Shit be crazy. Oh, okay. Here's the thing that I was talking about. Listen to Scott Adams. He'll do a way better job explaining what I just tried to say than what I said.
I think I may have mentioned there was a big study in which they asked people, what do you think of this policy? And it doesn't matter what the policy is, just some political thing in the news. And then people would look at it and they would judge it. And then they would do a second test with different people in which they would say, all right, here's the Democrat plan and here's the Republican plan. And it turns out that if you tell them their team likes something, they will like it even if they wouldn't have liked it before they knew whose idea it was. And the effect is gigantic and instant. So you can get 70% of people to change their mind just instantly if you say this is what your team thinks. So the way I say this is that people don't come up with opinions. Their opinions are assigned to them. because they learn of their team's opinion by watching the news, and then the news tells them that their side is always right, and their team all agrees, and then just immediately they take that side. So this is my theme for the day: that you think you're dealing with critical thinkers, but you're really not. And this is the first thing you learn when you learn hypnosis. People make up their minds first, and then they come up with tortured explanations of why they did it. But the thinking follows the decision. Most of you were raised to believe that people think about things and then make decisions. Nothing like that's ever been shown to be true. Every study on the topic, everyone, 100%, show that the thinking happens after the decision. No exceptions. You could ask Sam Harris. You could ask anybody who's studied brains and psychology. Every single thing shows the same thing. We are not thinking creatures. We are rationalizing creatures.
So what do you guys think about that? Do you think that's true? I think it is, honestly. And again, I try to not do that. I try to think objectively about things. And another thing that I do is I try not to go to sources of information that give you the conclusions. I just want the information, right? I would like to make my own conclusions about things. I would like to think about things myself. And a lot of the time, and I think it's because of that exact reason that Scott Adams was talking about right there, that somewhere in around 2002 or whatever it was, right after 9/11, the news station switched from telling the news to telling opinions, right? And that's when CNN became fucking left wing and Fox News started and became right wing. And we had all these talking pundits that were like, they weren't even talking about what happened or the facts. They were talking about how people feel and what sides think different things. You know what I mean? Like, they're making arguments from conclusions rather than giving information and letting you make your own conclusion.
And at the same time, pushing a lot of celebrity garbage is what it was too, is news.
And that's really poisoned the minds of a lot of people. Like, think about this, dude. We're in 2026 now. Like, that was in 2002, 2003, 2001, somewhere in there. I'm not exactly sure. So even like a 27-year-old kid, even older than that, because you weren't watching the news when you're born. So we'll go 35-year-old. Your typical 35-year-old has grown up with this style of news for their entire life. They don't remember anything different. They don't have any frame of reference for a basis of comparison. It's just, here's what the news is. Here's how it's always been. There was a point where like Walter Cronkite or whoever would get on TV and they had great respect and they had great admiration from the people because they were the fourth of state, excuse me, wherein they are the people who tell the people of the country, you know, like the citizens, what is happening. And without that unbiased, neutral position, and I'm not even sure it was neutral back then, but at least it had the appearance of that. But without that neutral, unbiased position that's just meant to inform people, people have just gone insane. They've gone off the fucking the deep end a lot of the time. And I think Trump derangement syndrome specifically is exemplative of that, because people have, think about this, right? How long ago did Trump come down the escalator? That was 2015, right?
Yeah, 11 years.
And so these kids that are now voting, 18 years old, they probably barely remember that. They probably, you know, like that's like their first entry into even thinking about politics was watching that happen and hearing all the fucking pundits and talking heads laughing at Trump and, you know, all the things that happened back then. That was their entry into political life. And they have known nothing since then, especially if they follow mainstream media. They've known nothing except for hatred for Trump. They've known nothing except for negative stories about Trump. And so they've basically been assigned their whole opinion. And there's no wonder that you've got these like Ryan Routh, or what was the guy's name in Pennsylvania, taking shots at fucking Trump, or the guy who killed Charlie Kirk, right? Like there's these kids who've been just radicalized because they've grown up in this regime of just fucking crazy information that's been spoon fed to them, and they're going to the natural conclusions of that information, which is, oh, if we have Hitler, right? Like if you truly believe that Trump is Hitler, then you doing things to take out Hitler can be nothing but a good thing. And anyone who doesn't think that is for Hitler. So like it kind of makes perfect sense if you actually drink the Kool-Aid, if you actually like go along with this thinking that is behind this ideology. And
What's
it's
ironic?
100% created by the media. So, oh, go ahead.
What's ironic too is that the people that want to sit there and scream, "Oh, it's going to be the next Hitler, going to be the next Hitler," they're literally creating a future Mao at this point, or a Stalin or someone else like that is going to be a dictator.
The news was telling a narrative since Vietnam, and honestly, you're probably right. There's probably been a thumb on the scale. It just wasn't as obvious in the 90s. You know what I mean? Like, that's when I first started becoming politically aware. It was like 1991-ish, 1992, right around Waco. When Waco happened, that was the first actual national news story that I really paid attention to. And you're right. Even back then, it was bias. Even back then, because if you watch the mainstream media about Waco back then, you would have believed that the Branch Davidians were raping children inside of the building and they were all cultists, and that they were, and like a lot of these things were never proven, but society's just moved on, and that was the narrative at the time. And when the church went up in flames with children inside of it, young me, who watched the narrative at the time and believed it, just like the young kids are watching the narrative about Trump and believing it now and believe that he's Hitler, believed that it was better off that those kids got burned up and died because they were all probably terribly abused, and that the adults who were burning inside of the building deserved much worse than what they were getting right then. I was happy that it happened. I was like gleeful. And that's not because I'm a bad person. That's because I believe the narrative, and that would be the natural conclusion to the narrative that there's a group of cultists who were raping children inside of their church, right? So again, yeah, you're probably right that this narrative has been going on since Vietnam, probably even before that, I bet, honestly. So it just wasn't as obvious.
What's
I think I
crazy
may
to
have
think
mentioned it was a
Oh, good.
is that we are only about 12, I think it's about 11 weeks or so right now away from the 25th anniversary of 9/11, and you have, I think it's 8 different ages of kids that weren't even alive then that are going to be voting this year.
So here we have a list of U.S. gun homicides per capita. We have European deaths from heat, and we have India deaths from diarrhea. So annually in India, 40 people per 100,000 die from diarrhea. Annually in Europe, 23.5 people per 100,000 die from heat-related deaths. And in the United States, 5 per 100,000 die from gun violence. Homicide. I guess gun homicide specifically, right?
Yeah.
And yet, the only one of these things that any kind of government's having a problem with is the guns. In fact, in Europe, they're taking away people's air conditioners right now. I don't know if you guys know about this. Apparently, they've painted air conditioning as fascist or something. So, yeah, dude, it should be crazy.
I heard some of those deaths were caused because the homes themselves were super insulated and they couldn't actually get any drafts through the humidity is what it was in the home. So they basically just cooked like an oven.
Right.
Which is terrible to go.
It's not like air conditioners are made out of fucking, I don't know, vibranium or something that you got to go to Wakanda to fucking get, and it's like this like rare fucking material or something. No, you can produce them in factories, right? Like we've had this technology for 100 years. I actually don't know exactly when they invented air conditioners, but they've had them for quite a while. Yeah, they've had them for quite some time. Anyway. Hamas commander Waylon Hayy who microwaved 2 newborn babies to death, who killed a Christian tourist by raping her and then ripping out her intestines on October 7th, has been eliminated in a targeted operation.
Good.
Nope, I don't know if we can show that. Oop. And to that I said, but it's the Jews that are the problem, right? Everybody? It's always the Jews, right? Although,
To be fair on that, there was a couple of attacks by Israeli forces in Lebanon after the whole ceasefire thing came out recently. And they were claiming they were not doing attacks there, is what it was.
well, and to be fair, also, there are stories about there was a doctor who was volunteering in Gaza, or at least on the border or whatever, to help Gazan people who needed a doctor. So basically here's how this kind of works is no one has jobs, no one works, but they all have like fucking 12 kids for some reason. And there are food stations that you can go to and pick up supplies depending on the size of your family or whatever is how much you get. So you have to like walk through fucking terrible, destroyed, violent cities to get to these food stations. And Israeli soldiers, so in order to get the food home, they usually send a young boy, like 13, 14, 15 years old, because they're able to withstand the heat and they don't need as much water, and they can carry more. And so they send the 15-year-old boy out to get the food, and then he comes back carrying as much as he can or whatever, right? And there was a string of, in one single day, multiple of these like 15, 14, 16-year-old kids who got shot in the nuts by the IDF while they were trying to get food. And it's like, obviously there's war crimes on both sides, right? And I think that we need to hold people accountable. Like anyone, they need to do an investigation about that specifically and find out what happened and why and who is to blame and hold them accountable for what they did wrong. And if they don't do that, then yeah, like you kind of got a point about Israel anyway, not about the Jews specifically, but about Israel and not holding their soldiers to account for committing war crimes. That being said, October 7th was one giant fucking war crime. There was not one part of that wasn't a war crime. Like, they came over, they killed families, they killed people in their cars, they microwaved babies to death. Like, there's no fucking military justification for microwaving a baby. So, and I would say that microwaving a baby is probably a little bit worse. I mean, it's difficult to say what's worse about which war crime is worse than another war crime, but shooting someone in the nuts seems to me to be like pretty bad. Microwaving a baby seems to be really, really bad, So
yeah, I was watching an Asmund Gold video this afternoon. It was about he was responding to that shoe on head chick, and she was discussing Carmelo Anthony's piece of shit support, is what it was. And it was during some of that he was saying something about if you've never done online gaming, you don't know like the toxicity is what it is. And that's one thing I do remember is after the attack there in Israel on October 7th, just the amount of Islamic people that were in the base chat of the one game I played. And it was just, oh yeah, the Jews deserved it. And just like basically went from there, and just so much anti-Semitism was ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm really not a big fan of Muslims in general. I'm sure that there's some good ones out there. I'm sure that there's some people who wouldn't hurt a fly. But
the only good ones are the ones that have left Islam for either Christianity or some other religion.
I mean, you have a third world fucking religion that promotes raping girls who are not part of your religion and marrying girls who were like, how old was Aisha? If I like 5 or 7 or something years old,
she
6
was
years old.
6 when Muhammad supposedly met her, and then 9 when he married her.
I thought she was 6 when he married her and 9 when he fucked her, but I could be wrong. Anyway, their Messiah is a child fucking rapist. Their Messiah is a warlord, fucking violent conqueror. Our Messiah is a pacifist, is a turn the other cheek, is Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. There's a huge difference in ideology. And one leads to first world countries and civilization. The other leads to endless fucking tribalism and feuds and wars in the Middle East that will never end. Like, if the whole world became Muslim, there would be Muslims who were like, well, you're not the right kind of Muslim, so we have to kill you. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, they just need to be contained within their area or eradicated or converted. I don't know. We need a second, third, fifth, however many crusades we're on by now. We need another one. It's been a while.
I think that's what a lot of people are waking up to at this point, honestly, especially when you have the population of Islam in America right now is about 1%, and they're already talking about trying to do takeovers here is what it is. And then you have, I think it's over 1 million Hamas terrorists and a few other different terrorist organizations that have basically infiltrated this country through borders and are Democrats.
Here's more footage of the mosque being burned down in Ireland. It's like, man, I love the Irish, man. You guys are fucking one of the greatest parts of America. Like, how many Irish people came to the United States and worked on railroads and all the other projects that Irish helped with. They basically became slaves, right? When the Irish came here in mass, they were considered second-class citizens. They were considered to be these, like, underlings of society. And to some extent, they probably were because, you know, like, Irish culture. I mean, look at car bombs and all of the things that happen. Like, there's a reason for that, and that's because they've got a lot of fight in them. They got a lot of spunk, and I think we need some spunk these days.
My heritage is about probably 40 to 50% Irish.
Your Honor, did you consider? Yes, I did. Look at that head, bro. Jesus, it looks like Megamind.
Yeah. Got some Brainiac vibes going on for sure on that one.
God damn. 3 people in custody for brutal assault on random woman leaving bar. The woman claims they yelled "Free Carmelo" during the attack. I don't know if we talked about this last week, but I think this happened over a week ago, didn't it?
Yes.
Anyway, like, she got fucked up, bro. And now 3 of them are arrested. I don't know if there's more people who were involved who haven't been arrested yet, but we need to send a message to people that this racism that's going on against white people in this country will not be tolerated. That if you participate in any kind of this situation, that you should be charged with a hate crime. That you should be charged with the maximum of like allowable limits of the law as far as what the penalties should be for you personally, so that it sends a message to the rest of them who would do these things that I shouldn't do that thing. We need to put a stop to this right the fuck now. I mean, look at what's going on with Caitlin Clark, like, and the WNBA, and how she's been the target of, as far as I can tell, racist attacks from black women who play on teams who were against her, and sometimes girls who were even on her own team who don't protect her, who are black, because she's white and because she's in the spotlight. And so she's been identified as a target, as someone who needs to be taken down, as someone who is an oppressor, or whatever the fuck they say, you know? And they've been attacking her, and they've been attacking this girl. And how many of these stories do we not even know about? I mean, there's got to be,
yeah.
I mean, from minor little fucking like scuffles or whatever, all the way to stuff like this. There's got to be thousands and thousands and thousands of them across the nation in just the last week, I would say.
Well, just look at the videos that came out after the Carmelo verdict, when it was some people in Florida that were homeless, white people, that you just had random black people walking up and just starting attacking to them and being like, oh, you were on the Carmelo jury, and just like physically like either punched them or pushed them or shoved them or did something to them.
Be funny if they did that and they just got stabbed in the heart instantly.
And specifically in this case here in
For
Texas.
the irony.
Well, yeah, no. The white woman there in Texas, though, those 3 black women specifically said they were looking for the smallest white girl to beat the shit out of, which that's not a federal hate crime at this point is absolutely ridiculous. They should be charged federally with hate crimes at this point.
Right. All 3 of these bitches. Like, look at them. You can tell. Like, and here's the thing. Like, I don't want to be considered racist or I don't want to consider myself racist, but if I'm walking down the street and I see a group of younger black people, especially, I'm crossing the road and walking on the other side of the street. I'm on guard. I have my hand on my gun in my pocket, and I am eyeballing these people, waiting for them to do something. I hope that they don't, and I don't want to hurt anybody, and I don't want to do anything like that. There's no point where I'm looking for that kind of confrontation or violence or whatever. But that being said, if you are aware of your surroundings and you don't consider that to be a threat, you're wrong.
When I was living in Columbus back in 2010s, I almost got jumped by 2 black dudes when I was walking home one night. And I'll tell you what, I'm so glad I now carry, because at the time I didn't have any firearms.
Yeah,
All I
and
had was my keys, and I figured what else I had in my pocket that I was having as like a possible weapon if they wanted to jump me. But I would have been fucked at that point.
And how many videos have we seen where like it starts off as a confrontation between like a white guy and a black guy, right? And then they start fighting and the white guy starts winning. And then what happens? Anybody? What happens after the white guy
Depending on
starts
who's
winning?
all around, you have like 20 other people jump in.
Yep. You have a bunch of other people jump in, and then it's not 1-on-1, it's 5-on-1. And the 5 win. And then when the guy's down on the ground, they don't just say, okay, we won. They don't say, oh, he's knocked out, stop. They kick him in the head. They punch him in the head. They fucking slam his head against the concrete. And sometimes you die. Sometimes you get killed in these situations. Like sometimes one punch is all it fucking takes. You know, if you hit someone just right and hard enough and stuff, you can die from a punch. It does happen. So I'm on guard.
During the 2020 riots, there was a kid who was being jumped that had a sword in his hand because he was trying to fight back against the BLM mob, and they literally beat him to death in the street.
Yeah, I mean, didn't something just happen to I gotta look it up. I can't even remember the guy's name. He's one of those like right-winger guys he was a January 6th dude who went to prison, and now he's like a political activist who goes to things and like antagonizes.
Are you talking about Jake Long?
I think that's, what's his name again?
Jake Long.
Didn't he just almost get killed?
He went to the BET Awards.
That's what it was.
Black Parent sign.
Yeah, so nearly murdered by a violent black mob outside the BET Awards. They smashed glass bottles and shattered and cut his face. They ganged up on him like a pack of wild hyenas, bleeding badly and cut everywhere, on the way to the hospital now. See, and this is why, again, there should be open conversations. There should be public debates if you want, you know, but because of this violent ideology that's behind a certain side of the argument, a lot of people who are on our side of the argument just don't want to engage, because why would I put myself at risk? Why would I put myself in that situation? What do I gain from having this argument with this person who's not going to agree with me no matter what I do, by the way, right? There's no fucking argument that you're going to make that's going to change their mind. So it's really pointless. And then these people are out on the street and violent. And then like the one person, Lang, actually does something or has a sign. And of course he's going to get attacked. And that's going to reinforce that reaction from people on our side to be like, you know what? I'm not going to the protest. I'm not going to the rally. I'm not going to argue with that person. You get that uppity black guy who's getting violent at the fucking store. I'm going to a different aisle and picking out eggs now instead of pasta, because I don't want to be near that, rather than like confronting the guy and doing something about it. Which, I mean, honestly, there's that saying, how does evil win when good men do nothing? And there's good men doing a lot of nothing right now because they're afraid. And they're afraid for legitimate reasons, honestly. But I mean, if you don't stand up, then what? Like, we're just going to lose. So, and you know, there's some validity to it too, because even if you win the fight with the person, even if you win the argument with the person, there's always the chance that next you're targeted by the state, next you're targeted by police, because, you know, whatever. And so now you have to fight 2 battles. You have to go through like the Kyle Rittenhouse thing where he miraculously made it through the crowd. And now you got a fucking prosecutor named Binger who's fucking trying to nail you to the wall. So You got to win the fight twice, really. And people don't want to go through that. And that makes sense to me that you wouldn't want to go through that, because I don't really want to go through that. But at the same time, if we just go to the other aisle, pretty soon there's not going to be a grocery store to go to. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. Well, the thing is, it's not even just all that. It's also the fact that now you got to worry about motherfuckers doxing you and swatting your home and everything else like that.
Right.
Because you said the wrong thing or did the wrong thing, and it's just fucking ridiculous. And that's why I don't understand how in 2026 the current people that make up Congress have not put anti-doxing laws and anti-swatting laws into place right now that should be federal death penalty felonies at this point, because that's what the people are trying to do to you at the end of the day. They're trying to get you killed.
So you guys don't hate the media enough. This happened in Mesa County, Colorado. A transgender man stabbed someone over a soda and then fled from the police. The police then shot the person, right? Because they were being a threat and probably did something that made the police. You don't just shoot someone if you're the police. You know, if you got the knife and you make a move, well, then you get shot. You don't just get shot. And I think the body worn cameras have kind of dispelled the myth of like police on African American violence or whatever, you know, because there is probably some of that. And before cameras, there probably was more of that than there is now, because they know they're on camera. However, what the cameras have shown is in almost every single case, the person who's being shot was like had a phone or something, you know. It's like, oh, he was unarmed. Yeah, but he pointed a phone at the cop like it was a gun. And if you know, it's reasonable at the time to assume, oh, how long have you guys been there, by the way? Hello.
30 seconds.
I just got here.
All right. Well, then I don't feel bad. But I mean, if you get pulled over by the police and you start acting in a certain way, and then you make a sudden movement and you like run at the cop, you're going to get shot. And that doesn't have anything to do with being black, white, Hispanic, whatever, dude. That's your behavior that led to that outcome. And it's going to lead to that outcome every time, because that a reasonable person would fear for their life in that situation. And you put them in that fear. You can't put someone in fear for their life and then be like, oh, well, I was unarmed. Like, yeah, well, there's other circumstances. And then with this particular situation, look at these headlines, dude. Mesa County coroner identifies woman killed in last week's police shooting. Does that tell the story? Does anyone informed about what happened? Or how about this one? Mesa County coroner. Oh, wait, that's the same fucking headline. Suspect from officer involved shooting at Dairy Queen in Colorado identified. Oh, does that tell you that it was a tranny who fucking stabbed someone over a fucking Coke?
No.
And then ran from police and did some fucking shady shit and then got shot? Oh, is a 31-year-old woman who got shot? Does that tell you what happened? Do you know what happened now? No, because you see that headline, you're like, oh, the Mesa County police killed a woman for what? What was she doing? It's like, okay, you're answering the why should we hate the fucking media? Why do I personally find the media to be the enemy of the people? Because time after time after time after time after time, this is exactly how they frame things. They want to place the blame on a certain group and protect another group and make things seem like, oh, this is just a natural story that just, you know, or whatever, dude. It's so fucking annoying. It's so fucking annoying.
Well, not only that, but it was not the media themselves doing that kind of shit. Then you got people like that one dude, I think it was last summer down in Florida, who was filming the cops from inside of his vehicle and acting like they were doing police brutality on him. And then it turned out that they had the body cams released like a couple days after that. And it proved that he was being an asshole for like a half hour, 45 minutes, refusing to identify anything. And it eventually escalated to the point where they were like, we had to break his vehicle's window open and get his fucking ass out of there.
Was he suspected of?
I believe he had done at least a felony at that point, if not two felonies. Because I think the reason they originally pulled him over was for, it was either out of date
Okay, he was in the car.
or something else like that. And then I think he had like a felony warrant, if I'm not mistaken.
Here's another one.
Yeah, this was
12-year-old black kid stabs 9-year-old white boy to death. Media sympathizes with the poor black who did it because he wanted to go to jail and had a rough time at home. So because the 12-year-old kid had a rough home life, they're like, yeah, I mean, stabbing the 9-year-old kid to death makes sense. You know, it's not really his fault. It's society's fault, right? I hate the media so much, dude.
That reminds me
them.
of the tagline from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas when the dude kills people and he's like, "Don't blame me, blame society."
Dude, AI's out of control.
Nah, it was real, man. What are you talking about? All right, I've seen the meme. Who is that chick?
She's
I don't get the meme.
She's Caitlin Clark's teammate.
Which is she like
She's
a basketball player or something?
She's like the enforcer of the team.
Yeah, who's now beating up on the black chicks who are on the other teams.
Oh. I don't watch basketball, especially not the women's basketball.
Yep, me either, but I watch the highlights sometimes when they're trying to fucking stab Caitlin Clark in the eyeball with their giant nails or whatever.
The best part of the WNBA was when they were throwing dildos on the courts.
The memes from that were funny. Because they were searching people's bags and they're like talking about how I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. Because they're not going to do a cavity search.
That's just wrong.
You just made me take my beer, my seltzer.
Not to totally rehash the first part of the chat, but I was watching earlier on the beginning of the chat when I was eating before I came in, and you said something wrong about the birthright citizenship thing. You said it was meant to apply to Native Americans. Originally, it didn't. Like they had to pass a law later on in the 1800s to say that it applied to Native Americans. It didn't. It was basically only meant to apply to freed black people.
I didn't know that.
Slaves. Yeah, and it still to this day does not very intentionally doesn't apply to diplomatic people here on diplomatic missions. Like if you're like the ambassador of like England or some shit, and you and your wife come over here living totally legally within the United States on a diplomatic mission, your child will not be an American citizen if he's born on U.S. soil. It's in the law. Like,
but if you make it across the Rio Grande at 8.5 months pregnant and fucking plop out a baby on the shore.
Yeah, that's
or if your parents come here in the 1970s on some visa bullshit and then have a kid named Vivek.
Yeah, I think that the justices got free because you remember that dude showed up at Kavanaugh's house a few years ago after the Roe v. Wade thing. I think the justices caved, like the 2 or 3 turncoat bastards caved because they were didn't want to get killed and they're little pussies. I mean, I can't talk too much shit because they want to not die, but you know what I mean. That's not.
There's been some rumors.
Speaking to the history of the text, you also have to consider even in the 1800s, we were at a point in time where it was harder to like count every head, and definitely there was not a social state. You know, like there wasn't a dole. So even if you did come over here and plop out a kid 8.5 months pregnant, like who cares? There's not, you know what I mean? Like you're not getting taxpayer funded housing and shit.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing most people don't know is almost half of the people who came to the United States legally through Ellis Island in the like early 1900s, late 1800s, when there was, you know, like the big push to bring in people from Europe and stuff. Almost half of them went back because they're like, man, this is hard. I want to go back to wherever I'm, you know, England or whatever, you know, because things were easier over there and I'm going to go back now. And they came over on the boat. They went through Ellis Island. They became a citizen. They realized like, oh shit, nothing is free here. I mean, it's a free country, but you don't get to eat for free. You don't get to live for free. You don't get free shit. I'm going back. I can't handle it. A lot of people did. Hey, look at this real quick. Another reason why to hate the fucking media. Trump put a golden eagle on the White House, and they're comparing it to the Nazi eagle. Again, and then people are going to be like, people who ideologically already think that Trump is evil are just going to use this as another notch on the belt, another reason why they think that, and it's actually has nothing to do with Nazism at all whatsoever, so whatever, dude.
Yeah, fascism is when eagle is fascist. Yeah.
Well, there was another one where Trump was signing some papers with like a general around him or something like that. They were like, here's Hitler signing papers with a general. Like, bro.
Dude, Hitler drank water once.
Yeah, Hitler also liked dogs. So.
Oh, well, Trump doesn't have a dog. He's the first president in a while, so I think we're safe.
Actually, speaking of Hitler, there was apparently a school yearbook that came out earlier this year. I forget what state it was in, but apparently somebody put Adolf Hitler's baby picture in as their photo.
Dude, I bet Trump was also in a yearbook once. Okay, the joke's played out now.
Is this another mosque being burned down, or is this just like a stock image? Because the mosque that we watched being burned down a minute ago was not this.
Hard to say.
Yeah, you never fucking know these days.
Probably a stock image. I hate when they do that shit.
Yeah.
Get hopeful.
See, Charlie Kirk got it. Imagine if a pregnant lady broke into your house, had a baby in your living room, and then says she now has legal right to stay in your house forever. Like, no, dude. You broke into my house. Go ahead.
That was also the point some people were bringing up, too, was how long until some of these kids get voting rights in this country and they just start taking our fucking inheritance. They start stealing our homes, literally.
Back in the day, it would make a lot of those countries that have it, that aren't us, it makes more sense back in the day when, the country doesn't have a whole lot going on. There's no welfare or anything like that. And you got to get on a boat for like 6 months to get there from somewhere else or get through a jungle.
Hey, look at these Italian Nazi motorcycles, Moto Marini. They've got an eagle on the side of it. That means they're Nazi too, right?
Wappa Nazis.
Dude, that's why they didn't like what's her face, the blonde chick or whatever with the big old titties, is because she did that commercial for American Eagle. That's why she's a Nazi.
Sydney
jeans.
Yeah, she does.
Patriots in Denmark display a massive "Fuck Islam" sign in front of march of thousands of Muslims. Slow clap. Again, that's the second slow clap today, bro. Look at it. They're like, what?
What happened to Daniel?
Daniel? What do you mean?
Yeah, Rich Super Chat Daniel.
I don't know. Maybe he got bored of the show. Not sure. I assume he's still alive and well.
Seasons of life. Maybe he's busy making his second $1 million.
Pregnant Somalians. Pregnant Haitians.
So it began.
Oh my god. Lord. Lordy.
Do you see it as a binary system?
What are you talking about?
Women, like you would or you wouldn't? Or do you have like a scale?
Again,
you're talking about like a number scale?
Like whether I would fuck a girl or not? It's just like a binary. Is that what you're talking about?
Right. I mean, you said it, not me, but yeah.
Well, I'm trying to understand what the fuck you're saying here. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
I mean,
all of the aspects notwithstanding.
I find most women to be fucking retarded and annoying as shit. So even if you're hot, even if I would want to put it in you potentially, you open your fucking mouth and ruin it for me. So it's pretty tough to find a girl that I actually like. What the fuck?
I've seen that meme before.
You're
like
noise
a
in the middle of the night.
Reynolds.
No, that's fucking Sean Connery, dude. Look at him.
Oh,
that has to be from some weird ass movie we never heard of.
Have y'all not seen that?
I have no idea what movie that is.
I don't want to know.
All right, guys. Well, I kind of got a fucking migraine going on right now, and we've been going on for almost an hour and a half. We made it longer than I thought I was going to be honest, with how this chat started, and I apologize for that, by the way. But man, laughing just now really hurt. So I'm gonna go ahead and
give some fan service.
Before we go, though, do you guys have any last minute stories or things that you want to talk about before we go?
Yeah, there's a little.
I'll let you have it.
There's a little creeping Tyrone going around my neighborhood and trying to assault old women now. So I'm probably gonna have to shoot somebody at some point in the near future.
Well, hopefully not.
Are you a little old woman?
No, but there's like 3 of them that live within like a 20-foot radius of me. So
you don't want to give Tyrone your pussy?
I'm not even going to answer that question.
Shoot.
Word.
All right.
Anybody got anything to plug or whatever? You got any shows or anything going on?
No. Did you hear about the Confederate flag at the North Carolina exhibit thing?
No.
Oh, well, our governor decided that he didn't want us to spend the money to go to the Great American State Fair to represent our state. So, like I think a company that owns some racing teams and NASCAR decided to put one on on our behalf. And then on like a couple of the video displays, like they're showing like historic imagery. A couple of them had apparently a Confederate flag on it. And the governor got all pissy about it. When I'm thinking, like, why are you so pissed off? You didn't want to. Our state's not being represented by our state. It's being because you didn't want to spend. You know what I'm saying? He didn't want to do it, and now he's bitching about how the people who stepped up to do it for us was doing it.
Is it? You say North Carolina?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys were kind of right in the middle of that thing, weren't you?
Yeah, a whole lot of it happened here. We have reenactments all throughout the state at like Confederate sites and shit. We had several large battles in the state.
I think it'd be really cool if you lived in one of those areas to get like a metal detector and go around one of the old battle sites and try to find like trinkets or guns or bullets or whatever you can find.
You can still see the daggum trenches where they dug at a few of the places, especially like at the Battle of Bentonville. They're eroded a little bit, but you can still see the earthworks where they had trenches dug.
I mean, the same thing is true of World War One, but after World War One ended, a lot of the lands where those trenches were taken over by farmers to farm, and they took bulldozers and kind of just pushed dirt into the trenches and then farmed on top of them. So in the bottom of a lot of these trenches, like under the farms, you can dig down and find helmets and skeletons and machine guns and all kinds of crazy shit, dude. That's another one that's kind of cool, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
Sometimes people. Oh, I was going to say sometimes people find unexploded ordnance from the Civil War still.
Yep.
Do you think? Oh,
that's a little sketchy.
Random question: if you find like a fucking exploded ordnance from the Civil War, is there any possibility it could still go off?
They say yes, like the fuses and shit, but I don't know how the powder would go off. But you might blow your finger off or something. I don't think the main charge would go off, but they say it could. There are tales from people back in like the 1960s and stuff when people didn't know any better, digging up old cannonballs and shit and trying to like, it's rusty. I'm going to like take a drill and drill a hole through the middle of it, so they pour the powder out and it blows up on them.
I know there was a lot of World War II like underwater mines that didn't get cleaned up, that years later some boat ran into somewhere or whatever, and it was for decades that problem was going on, but I haven't heard about that for a really long time, so I don't know. All right, yo. Yeah. Deuces, y'all. Shut up, and fridge. Trooper to shop and not, but to pressure Batacath care. Prick the troops. 2 words, made in America. And we will see you all next time. Deuces.
Happy Independence Day, America.